weighing in at 228 pounds from Melbourne, Florida, Ted Marshall. His opponent from Caracas, Venezuela, weighing in at 245 pounds, Cyclone Negro.
Well, frankly, I don't understand this. Cyclone Negro is scheduled to wrestle another opponent today. Perhaps we can get word on that a little bit later, but his opponent for this match is going to be Ted Norris. Ted Norris, of course, who wrestled a little bit earlier in the day against Dr. Red Roberts. And, well, frankly, I'm hoping that this won't be too much for Ted Marshall. But a nice takedown on Cyclone Negro. Of course, Negro from Caracas, Venezuela. And last week was, well, you might say a little disappointing to me because I know the individual very, very well. And he kind of pulled some surprise tactics last week that I was not expecting him to do, and frankly, a little bit disappointing. But we'll see what happens this week against a competitor such as Ted Marshall. First, Ted Marshall maintaining the side headlock on Cyclone Negro. Headlock and takedown by Ted Marshall. Of course, Cyclone Negro, a very, very wily mat veteran, over 20 years in professional wrestling. He's been all over the world. Going up against an individual who's been around quite a bit himself in the form of Ted Marshall. Of course, Ted Marshall, the former United States heavyweight champion at one time. And Cyclone Negro, who has held just about every title in professional wrestling that I know of, at least, and wrestled throughout the world. And we're certainly glad to have him here with us with the WWA. And now an armbar being applied to Ted Marshall. Standing wrist lock to a takedown, and a leg scissor is applied by Marshall onto Cyclone Negro. I think Negro this week is finding a little stiffer competition. Last week, of course, wrestling against a very, very young competitor indeed in the form of David Farrar, who has not been in professional wrestling that long. But this week it's a little different. He's going up against a seasoned veteran such as Ted Marshall. And right now Marshall does have the upper hand. I would like to get an opportunity to talk once again to Cyclone Negro in reference to last week. Now look at this, Negro doing a headstand and a nice takeout by Negro. He escaped that hold very nicely. Of course, that comes from those years of experience I was referring to. Of course, both men collar and elbow, and an arm bar now being applied by Negro on Ted Marshall. Both men match pretty well weight-wise. I think Marshall giving away about 15 or 20 pounds to Cyclone Negro. But, of course, one thing that Negro has is that vast amount of experience. You can see it's written all over his face. You can see the determination that comes from so many, many years of the mat wars throughout the world. Versus Negro, an absolutely awesome competitor. An international flavor to this match, of course. Negro from Caracas, Venezuela. He's been residing in this country for many, many years. He is a United States citizen. And it's controversial. As the man may seem. I did have the opportunity to meet his wife last week after the matches. A very, very pleasant lady indeed. I can't quite agree with Negro's tactics in the ring, but nonetheless, in the ring and out of the ring are two different things. Negro maintaining the advantage over Ted Marshall. Ted Marshall appears to be in a somewhat of a dilemma here. Negro has him tied up pretty well. Of course, to give credit to Ted Marshall, he did wrestle earlier in the program against a very tough competitor in the form of Dr. Red Roberts. And, of course, everyone knows that Roberts is a handful himself. And a knee right to the back of Ted Marshall. calling for the break as both men are up against the ropes. Referee today is Dan Donovan, a very experienced referee. Marshall flat on his back there after some hard punches by Negro right under the rib cage. You can see Negro stalking his man. Of course, Negro once billed as the meanest man in professional wrestling at one time, and still basically holds that reputation. But Marshall now retaliating against Negro with those hard lefts to the side of the head. And Marshall arm whips Negro right into the turnbuckle. Oh, wow! And Negro caught him with that knee right into the chin. And once again, the knee to the back of the neck of Ted Marshall. Wow! And I'll tell you, his Negro, he never misses an opportunity. Right there rubbing the bottom of the boot across Ted Marshall's head. Just like we say, we're very, very pleased to be here in the greater Miami area. We'd like to remind all of you that WWA All-Star Wrestling comes to Freeport, Bahamas on June the 30th. Backdrop applied by Marshall on Cyclone Negro. Down to 1, 2. Well, Negro powers out. And a full body slam being applied by Ted Marshall. Marshall up to that second rope. Looks like he's going for that power dive. Oh, wow! And Negro moved out of the way, and Marshall comes crashing down to the canvas. Still flat on his face, and Negro, ooh, that knee right to the back of the head. And it's in for the count. 1, 2, 3. Well, I'm afraid that's it. Cyclone Negro, the rough competitor that he is, facing a man who, of course, going up against Red Roberts earlier in the day,